Blunt Cuts is a podcast fueled by creativity, curiosity, and empowerment.
We cut through the daily mess of life. This is unfiltered honesty.
Park your passive at the door. This is Blunt Cuts. Welcome to Blunt Cuts. I'm CJ, and today we're talking about Superwomen and how they do it. Please welcome to the studio Rebecca Gebhardt, co-founder of Support Her Endeavors and owner of Rise Up Consulting. Welcome, Rebecca.
Hi, thank you.
I'm so excited you're here. Rebecca reached out on social media, actually, to come in and talk a little bit about her story, and we really strategized. What are we going to talk about? What should we talk about? And she has such an amazing coaching opportunity for women, and I love this idea of kind of exploring the word superwoman. What does that mean? What is this busy, powerful woman seemingly accomplishing every facets of life, from corporate ladders to home life to, you know, being the person who has the Pinterest life? Like how do we debunk this idea of superwomen? And let's get real about it today. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
So exciting to have you. So for me, superwomen are those ladies that have figured out a system and a support network that helps them. Or maybe there's a magical cape. I'm not sure.
That could be part of it. You know, it's really funny because this past week has been a really hectic week. I balance a lot of plates like most women do. And I feel like the part of being a superwoman is having a schedule that works for you, like really mapping out, not just thinking about what you want to do, but mapping out your time and then valuing your time. You know,
when you map out your time,
yes.
Like explain to me how you do that.
Okay.
I mean, I know how I do that, but how do you do it? Like, do you literally do it in your calendar?
Yeah. So I use my phone calendar for appointments, but that's not really good because you can't see your week or your month in advance. So what I do is every Friday, so Friday afternoon, I take about a half an hour to an hour and I map out my next week. And I have a to-do list, which we all like our to-do lists and to cross that stuff
right,
off.
Any type A is like the to-do list. It's, you know, essential.
Yeah. So I will write what needs to get done that week, and I'll start with my coaching appointments or things that have to get done, my kids' activities, my time with my husband, and then I will add in everything else. And so I like to block out prioritized time. So I feel like with multitaskers, we think like people are doing everything at the same time, and they're not. They're breaking down their day. And while they're doing one activity, you know, like when I'm on the phone with someone, I'm not on social media or I'm not returning an email. I'm just doing that. Or when I am with my kids, I'm just doing that. You know, when I'm at a Support Her Endeavors networking event, I'm just doing that. And I feel like if you can just like put it in the box, like there's always things that need to get done. Like, oh my gosh, I forgot to do this one
thing.
I
call it the parking lot. Like I have all these parking lots of my life that have, you know, random, beautiful dream cars in that I like have to bring back into my life. Anyway.
Yeah.
Parking lot. That's mine. Box parking lot. Similar.
No, I love it. Yeah. There's all these different things. But the important part about mapping out your week is that you will only have so much time, and then you can say no to the things that don't serve you. I have recently gone through, and I think once you reach a point of being so busy, you just reach this point and you have to evaluate, what don't I like to do? What isn't helping me get closer to my, and just do that, you know, like you can say no to the mom who's like wanting you to do this like stupid thing, or like, you know what I mean? Like
yeah, totally.
This project. I mean, like if you have to do a project at work, you have to do it, but some things are just like,
the power of the no, right?
Yeah,
it is a beautiful thing to learn. And I think it took me getting to my 30s to realize that I can say no. And that's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And it's actually going to serve the other people around me, because if I say yes to something I should have said no to, you're not getting the best me anyway at that experience or what you needed out of that. So.
Yeah. Like I just last night, and I always, if I should say no, I always ask my husband because like he's really good about just say no to that. But there's this race. I've been a runner. I've run like 5 marathons, but I've been a runner since high school.
Oh my gosh, I do not understand your type. Continue.
I don't do them anymore. I don't do them anymore. But my brother had texted and he said, "Do you want to do this 55-mile relay race in Wisconsin, where I'm from?"
Wait, you were to run 55 miles?
There, it's a relay. So I would run 6
Oh,
miles.
God.
And
Okay.
Yeah, no.
I know. Would you have a bike? Like, is someone pushing you? Do you have wheels?
Yeah,
Oh
that's a whole other level of crazy.
Wow.
No.
Okay.
But I didn't really want to do it, but I felt like bad because I have 6 siblings and 4 of them are going to be running it together. And he's just like, "No, you can't do that. You don't have the time to train for it. You don't have the energy." And I'm like, you know what? That's true.
Oh, guilt though sometimes,
I
right?
know.
It eats us up. Well, let's circle back and talk about kind of your journey and how you got to where you are and share with us a little bit of your background.
Okay.
Your story a little bit.
Yes. So I always start, and I have to explain that I am the middle of 7 children. So I'm the forgotten middle child. So this explains a lot. And
See, I'm oldest, so I do not know of any of these journeys.
So you set the standards. So you're like the most successful one. Yeah. But I learned from a young age that I would have to be good at a lot of things. So I've always been a multitasker. And not that my parents were crazy, because they weren't. They were great parents. But you don't get recognized in a big family unless you're doing a lot and you're doing it well. So even from like high school, I would do 3 sports a year and, was valedictorian, and I would work and all this stuff that carried me into college. And I had found out about, I went to Marquette University and I had to pay my own tuition, and that's not an inexpensive school.
I'm right there with you.
Okay. Okay.
St. Olaf, and I graduated my undergrad with a bazillion loans, and
yeah. And I had loans. I had about $20,000 that we paid off, but I had to pay my way through school. And so I found out about this sales opportunity where you can sell books door to door 80 hours a week and make an average of $7,000. And I jumped on it, which was crazy. But I did that for 6 years. And one summer I made $40,000 just
oh my gosh.
in a summer,
That is insane.
I know. And I recruited kids. I was there for 6 years. And then I transitioned to sell insurance. And in sales, a lot of it's male dominated. The insurance business was definitely male dominated. And, but I had a male director that really took me under his wing. And I don't know if because he felt bad there were no other women, like we need some chicks up in
He
this
needed
place.
a woman project and you were it.
Yeah.
Oh God. I'm just so bad about,
No, he
patriarchy.
wasn't like that. No,
Okay,
he wasn't
good.
no, it wasn't in a bad way. No, it was not in a bad way. It was just, or he saw something in me he believed in, but I got invited to these leadership retreats. Anyway, over the course of 9 years, I built an insurance business that will collect about $50 million of premium. And I walked away at age 33, pregnant with my second child, who's now 4. And I had $1 million of future renewal income. I'm married. We have a great marriage, but something scares me about relying on a man for all of my income. Like that just scares the crap out of me.
Oh yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, I've always been the breadwinner in our family, so that's been one of those things. But I think my husband, most recently, I'm realizing that he wants that too now, and it's so funny. I'm like, but why? Aren't we good? Like I thought we were good. I think we're good. Aren't we good? And so it's so funny. Like I the man side of that too. I think there is that from their end of life too. So,
yes.
But yes, anyway, I totally feel you. Like I'm going to do it on my own. If I can't do it on my own, then I'm not doing it right.
Right. I know. And it's so crazy, but
Which we should think of life as partnerships in marriage. But yes, no, I'm always like, nope, I need to be able to sustain us in case of natural disaster. It all falls on me and my shoulders.
In case an earthquake hits Minnesota.
Yes. Hurricanes. We get them all the time.
But I wanted that financial piece there so that I'd have like something and I could still feel like I could contribute and have, an ego in the relationship still and all of that. And I was off for a year. And then I kind of had a freak out moment where I lost my skill set. I've called on 30,000 people cold calling. I mean, I can walk into any business, but I went for this
is a special gift that you have that causes me anxiety to think about that idea of cold calling and sales. So
I'm okay with pain.
You have a great gift. Yeah,
I'm okay with pain.
Good gift.
But no, I got into a meat shop in Maple Grove where I'm from, and my church group was like doing a silent auction. And I couldn't talk. I was like, and all I needed to say was, do you want to be a sponsor for our silent auction? And I freaked out. And I thought, I have to do something to keep my skills sharp because I'm not going to be a stay-at-home mom forever. I had the break. I really wanted that time with my kids. And so I started a side gig, which I still do. And then a little over a year ago, I started a group called Support Her Endeavors with a couple other women in Maple Grove. And we're all over the metro. And we do networking events, and it's a support group. And I'm going to write this book one day. It's called Bitches Be Like.
Yeah. Right. Hey, that sounds like a Blunt Cuts media piece.
I know. But I have this just passion for helping women. But on this flip side, I think women are so cruel to each other.
Yes. It's one thing that we're really finding too. And that's what one of our missions too, is to get out there, and women need to be more supportive of each other because we can grow together.
Yeah.
And yes. One of our guests said it best: success is not a pizza. There's enough for everyone.
Yes. I heard. Yeah. But it's interesting. I don't know if it's like how we were raised as little girls with scarcity mentalities or whatever, but I think it's very strange how some people don't collaborate, or they don't feel like they can't give their support to someone because that's going to take away whatever it is. But our group, Support Her Endeavors, it's been so fun to do that. And there's 4 of us that founded it. We all have different skill sets that we bring to the table. And that was going really well. And we still do that. And then a couple months ago, I got together my consulting business, and then I launched officially on November 1st.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. So I focus on sales training and small business coaching, but in even like a bigger niche than that are women in male-dominated fields, because there's a lot of successful women that are lonely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think once you kind of get up to that executive level, and I know from my perspective, I've felt that alienation of, oh, now I'm no longer in the trenches with the team. Now I'm directing. Now I'm making some calls. So therefore, no one wants to be friends or like. So it is a lonely, weird perspective, in that space. And I'm sure at larger organizations, it's even more alienating.
Yeah.
So.
Well, even beyond that, like, not that other people don't want to be your friend, but you can't, like, when you get promoted or you're at the top, you can't puke down. You can't complain down. You can only complain up. And if there's no one to talk to, you're just like, this is so lonely. And as someone who's been in a male-dominated field, I just had a passion for helping women in that regard. So that's kind of where my consulting business is going, and everything I kind of do is around that.
And it all came out of you wanting to hone your skills again and be around women and starting that. And from there, you've just grown and blossomed.
Yeah.
So, congratulations on all of that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Similar stories I'm not the middle of 7 children. I am the oldest of 2 children. And then my dad remarried. So I have 2 stepsisters too. So oldest of 4,
okay,
we'll say.
Yeah.
And I definitely embrace this term of Superwomen. However, I really kind of want to uncover a little bit of the story behind when people use that term towards me, and it's happened. They're just like, oh, super mom or superwoman. Like, I hear it a lot, and I'm like, it could be taken derogatory, but I'm going to embrace that, and I'm going to let that empower me, but kind of to give a little bit of that background on why I want to be as busy as humanly possible. I was raised by a single mom, so she was my superwoman. I watched her work. I watched her work 2 jobs, without a college education, minimum wage, working her way up the ladder, kind of becoming a manager at one job. And the whole time, caring for my brother and I. My dad was around, in and out of the picture, but never super committed to us or raising us. So watching her struggle, watching my grandparents step in and be the support. She was the youngest child. So it just interesting in her family dynamics of where that happened and how much my grandparents were a part of my life. I also experienced a lot of loss. My entire childhood, I was at funerals of family members. I remember being such a young child and seeing so many people experiencing loss and experiencing that idea of life is so short and we only get this one. So I think the combined nature of watching my mom struggle, for us, make our lives better. And then me just like feeling, oh my gosh, I might not be here tomorrow, or my mom might not be here tomorrow. Like, this was my life. Like, people were dying. And just the craziest, things in our family, and life happens. But all of that kind of really did shape me. Like, I only have this one life. I'm going to get out there, multitask. I was a total type A, very involved, even from elementary school. I remember being super involved in a bunch of sports. Like you said, my grandparents would run me around everywhere. I was always the one staying after to help the teacher, or like making a play at school. If we didn't have a Christmas play, I'd be the one to like organize it as like a fifth grader. I mean, I remember clearly. And then when I entered like middle school, it got worse. I found out that there were community action organizations, and I could start a local chapter of like, so I started youth organizations and got grant writing and funding for like our community for our,
well, that's awesome.
Like, as a middle schooler. So I've always kind of had this in my DNA, and this like personality of just doing and taking it on and saying yes and figuring it out. So this is just who I am. And if I have an extra hour in my day, I'm like, what am I going to do with that, and how am I going to use that? Right. So that's my DNA. That's who I am.
Yeah.
So I also kind of started a really early career modeling. And I think that was the time in which I realized, oh my gosh, I can make money for doing something that I love. You know, I've only experienced from my family doing jobs that like they don't love. Oh, I have to go to work. I'd rather be at home with my family. Oh, like I'm not like happy, I think, that they were providing, but not happy with like what the act of what they were actually doing.
Right.
So I think those two dynamics of seeing my mom work, show me the value of hard work, me get this opportunity to do something that I loved and get paid for it. I think it just shifted me into like, I'm only going to do what I love and get paid for it, you know, at a very early age.
Right.
So I was the first one to go to college in my family, and really kind of set that goal for myself. I knew so went to St. Olaf, knew I needed to do that. I mean, my family had no idea about like loans or how to apply or what things to do. So I had to learn all of that on my own. And, you know, I was constantly told by my mom, are you sure? Like, are you sure you just don't want to take like a year? Like, do you want to just work at like the grocery store in the year? Are you sure you want to do this? I'm like, no, yeah, absolutely. Like, I am ready to go do this adventure. And so I did. And I was still kind of partially modeling and graduated in 4 years still, and did all the extras to like make all of those lives meld. But I was ready at that point because I had been such a multitasker in life. So it was no different that I had a lot of different fires going on. So that kind of propelled me to go forward, trust my gut, jump in. And I think I found that inner confidence. It's like, I am capable. I can do this. Like, that's going to be great. If I can't, I'll figure it out. I'll ask someone. You know, so my 20s were those years of like, yes, I can do it. If I don't know how, I'm going to figure it out. I think I worked my way really young. I was a marketing and creative director kind of by the age of 23, 24, and had my first daughter at 25. I was in a very male-dominated field. Okay. I was at a private equity firm managing all of their creative portfolio for, 25 companies roughly in the U.S. and Canada. And they were private equity in which they also had a management umbrella. So they would bring in businesses and they'd either fund them, startups, and then we'd offer up the creative brand look, feel, and marketing projection into the market, or they'd have existing businesses that either need to be rebranded or relaunched into the market for the potential for larger growth and then scalability to sell. So that was kind of the space I was working in.
Jeez.
And I remember like, okay, I'm pregnant. No, there was no HR at our firm. Like, there was no person to be like, I'm pregnant, what's our maternity policy? There was no policy of anything. I distinctly remember like telling them, okay, well, I'm pregnant. Like, that will turn into a baby, but we got time. Like, let's just keep rolling. So I ended up, like went into labor, like had my child. I remember clearly being in the hospital bed an hour after I delivered, my legs numb from the epidural, on a conference call.
Oh my gosh.
And
I had C-sections too, and I was numb, and I was non-functioning for weeks.
So I didn't have a C-section, so that maybe that's a difference. or it was my like.
But still, you're an hour after.
I don't know. I was 25. I think you know, like you just know, like ready, set, roll at that stage, or that was me. Like me, 34 now, looking back, I'm like, oh God, why did I do that? Like, what the hell was wrong with you?
Right.
But in that moment, it was the right thing for me. And like, I'm not saying this as like, whoa, she's a crazy like martyr. Let's like worship that. I was just like, that's what I did. That was my job. I wasn't really willing to like quit my projects. There wasn't really, it was a small company. It was a firm. There wasn't somebody to come in and take my spot. Like I had like 3 projects. I remember one in Chicago, one in Minneapolis under build, and then one up in Canada. So I was managing like 3. Those are my babies too. Like, yeah, I have this other baby, but like those are my babies too. And so hilarious. I didn't, it got a little better by the time I had my second child. I had figured out, okay, maybe I need a little bit more time. But I think I took 4 weeks at home. And then I remember traveling with Ava to Chicago to the construction site, and we had a baby hard hat. And I remember like deliberately running through to miss my flight with her bucket and all like strapped to me. I don't know. I just remember all of these things. I remember shipping breast milk home from Canada and like calling for a fridge to the hotel. Like, hey, I need a refrigerator. Like, do you have one? I know. So anyway, that was my 20s.
You learn that
Crazy,
that's not the smartest thing.
But it was good. It was good for me at that time, right? And it's just it's so funny, this idea. And my Canadian friends thought I was absolutely nuts because they get a year of like leave and it's like no ifs, ands, or buts. They're like, you just had a baby? Like what? Why aren't you taking the time? And I don't know. I was young and eager and like pushing. And I wasn't ready to like stop pushing. Yeah. And that's just my personality type and who I was and where I was. But I think now as a mom in my 30s, it's different. Like, would I look back at myself and like probably shake her or make her do something differently? Potentially. I think that there are, what I've learned a little bit is that something gives.
Yes.
And something you're sacrificing, right?
Yes.
So, as much as like running around with my daughter, like as an infant to all these projects, like, I don't know. I mean, she doesn't remember it, but it's crazy. Yeah. So.
Well, that's crazy. Well, 2 things that you said that I think are kind of cool that I think people should definitely relate to are you were like, other people might have thought it was crazy, but it worked for you. Mm-hmm. And so in this social media world where we're always being judged or whatever it is, like if something legitimately works for you, then you do it.
Right. No.
And like I had a kind of a similar, like not on that grand of a scale, but not like a judging situation, but a little bit. And it was kind of comical. So I was at dance 2 weeks ago with my 4-year-old daughter. We just started. I brought my bag with me because I'm a multitasker and I've got an hour. She's in the room.
Yeah, no. Mm-hmm.
I'm sending emails. And this other mom goes, oh, do you work? And I said, yeah, I actually have 2 businesses. And she goes, ugh, you're one of those. I can't even unload the dishwasher. And I just went, ha, 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 ha. But like, what? Do you know what I mean? Like, what?
Oh, I just want to help them.
I know. And I wasn't offended because I don't really care what people think about me. But I thought, well, how sad for her that she is so stressed out, like with what she's doing that she can't. And not that stay-at-home moms can't handle things, because a lot of stay-at-home moms do a lot of stuff. And I've been there and I have friends that are rocking that world. But you have an attitude towards your schedule, and I think that needs to change. Mm-hmm. So your attitude when you were working, you're like, I'm not a martyr. I want to do this. And you weren't complaining. You were just doing it and making it happen.
Yeah, no one asked me to do that. No one said, okay, this is what you have to do. I think that would have been a different scenario, right? This was like, no, this is what I have to do. I know what I have to do, and this is best for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, throughout life, I've taken breaks. Or like, I've had therapists be like, okay, well, you have anxiety. These are the things in your life. And then could you maybe cut back some of these things? So I've taken that advice, and that brings me to an extremely dark place. If I am slowed down, it's not good for me. Mm-hmm. And I've learned that. So I think that that's the biggest thing for me, to be busy, at least right now, as we're uncovering life here, right? Like, right. I need to be busy. That's what fulfills me. That's what makes me a better mom, a better wife, like a better business person. Like, I need to be busy, and busy in the right places.
Yes.
And I think that that's where, when you're talking about your checklist and saying no to those right things, that's what I'm learning now in my 30s. that I don't need to be busy just to be busy. I need to be busy working towards the things that matter to me and the goals that I've set forward and the why and the intentions and the things I'm living for. It has to be a yes. It has to be a right fit.
Right.
And it took me a while to get to that. I was just saying yes to everything to be busy.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And that opened doors and taught me things, and I learned and I failed and like all of those things.
Right.
But
yeah, like I'm a superwoman, I can do it all. And then you're like, I can't actually do it all. But I can do a lot that is in line with my values and what I'm good at, and more of the like when I think like when you're busy and you're doing things you shouldn't. I think we talked about this before we started recording, but it feels more like a grind. And sometimes you have to grind. You have to do the things you don't want to do to get to where you want to go. I mean, there is definitely
or if somebody's employing you to do some things, sometimes you like if you want a paycheck, sometimes you have to like compromise. Does this fit in my wheelhouse? Or you start your own thing and then everything fits in your wheelhouse. You know?
Yeah. But when you feel like you're just grinding every day and you're at your wits' end, that's when you take a step back. And I feel, you said your 30s. For me, I was in my early 30s and I just kind of evaluated. And I looking back, I could actually made my insurance business work. I could have,
of course.
You know what I mean? Like just knowing a few things I know now, but you reevaluate. You're like, what am I going to do? What can I be good at? And so you have to increase your skill set, or you have to just figure it out. But you can figure that out. And then one thing you said about confidence, you're like, it was where my confidence came from. I think we're confident when we can control the controllables. So that's why I'm always preaching, like, you can't.
Oh, I'm a control freak too, like none other. So there's that.
Yeah.
I don't like not being in control.
Yeah, well, I don't either. But if it's way out of my control, I'm not going to like bitch about it, like, and I complain plenty. You hear my husband and he'll be like, oh, you complain. But not what I can't control. And you can control your schedule. You really can. And where the unhappiness and the martyrdom comes from is people just not owning up to their circumstances they can control. So if you can control your time, like for me, that's why I'm always big on that. Control your time, block it out, figure it out. Then you're going to be more confident in your abilities to get things done. And you just need to get yourself a few wins, and then you go and you go and you go. And that's where things really start building, I think. And that's when you can make a big difference.
Yeah. Well, I think that is such an amazing place to kind of move into lessons we've learned.
Right.
And we shared a little bit. But for me, a big lesson that I've learned is being busy comes with sacrifice. But if being busy and driven is who you are, don't change. Embrace it and inspire others. And I think that's the biggest thing. That's been my goal this year, is that this is who I am. And I've tried changing it and that didn't help.
Yeah.
It made it worse. So now I'm going to embrace it and I'm going to inspire others to drive, but I'm not doing it alone. There are seas of people, including my husband, who is there supporting the home front in the times in which I'm running around like a crazy person. On every side of my life, there's teams behind me, encouraging, supporting, actioning, doing, like that. This isn't just me. So yeah, I mean, I take that badge of honor of Superwoman, but I also know and hope you all know that it's not just one person making that all happen.
Yeah. And that's the biggest lesson too. I just led a vision board party, which was really fun.
That sounds amazing.
I know, it was really fun. But last week, and walking people through like what their goals are. And I said, you can't just get this vision board together and not talk to your partner or your family or your kids or whatever it is, because you definitely can't do it alone. And that's where and I know there are people who do it alone. Like there's single moms who are doing it without a partner, but they do have family, right? Like your mom was a single mom, but she had her
other
parents.
moms around, or think of like how ingrained, like in our family, how ingrained our daycare provider was for those nights that I was flying in on a flight and late and she had to keep my kids a little longer, or just like things like that.
But you asked for help.
Yeah. And just being aware that like, okay, I need other people to support this. There are those stay-at-home moms that if I'm running late, will grab my kid off the bus and give them a snack, and like, I need to take that help and be thankful for that help and support them how I can. And, just being willing to like accept a hand.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you can't, when people want to change. And I think this time of year, around a new year, people are always looking like, what I want to be a different person, or I want to have different goals, but you can't do that with doing the same things you're doing or with the same skill set. And so how I love when I can help women through my consulting business figure that out. Like they know they need help, so they seek out help. Whether I'm the answer, and I might not be, someone else might be the help for someone, but you definitely need to ask for help because otherwise you just get in that victim mindset and you're upset and you don't have any control over your time. And it's just, that's not a good example for anyone.
Well, awesome. Any other parting words you have for our listeners on things that they can take in and apply to life?
I just think scheduling time to make a schedule, and when they catch themselves with that little feeling, that's that intuition, but that little voice, or they just know something's not right, is to listen to that and take a step back and then figure out what that is. Do they need to pivot in their career? Do they need to restructure what they're doing? Do they need to ask for help? But I would say listen to those little moments.
Trust that intuition. And even if you need an outside perspective on, hey, this is what I'm feeling, let's talk about
Correct.
it.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good time to sometimes involve others. So, well, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram, Rise with Rebecca. RiseWithRebecca.com is my website.
Awesome.
And then Facebook, same, Rise with Rebecca.
Well, thanks again. And thank you all for hanging out with us. If you're a superwoman, hopefully you've gained the right tools today. And if you're not, and that's something you aspire to be, let us know. We're always here to talk and share stories. So please continue that conversation with us on Instagram. You can find us at Blunt Cuts Podcast.